Hey guys, um, welcome back. It's been a while since I've filmed a video. I'm gonna do a state of the collection video. It's my first one. I'm sure I'm gonna make a lot of mistakes. I'm also sure that you've watched a bunch of these at this point. But you know, this whole channel is more for me than you, honestly. So you know, you might be rolling your eyes at there's one more state of the collection. If so, feel free to skip it. I don't blame you. I'm gonna try to keep this video at under 40 minutes. We'll see. But I feel like I should give you a little bit of background before you see my collection. I have about 15 watches. I started collecting, I think, around 2020. So I've had a couple of years to build these up. I am a high school teacher, and I have to wear a tie to work every day. So that necessitates, it doesn't necessitate, but it means for me, I have a self-imposed rule that I generally don't wear a NATO strap to work, and I generally don't wear a really tool style watch or a beater style watch or a field style watch to work. So much of my collection is going to be more dress oriented. It's going to be a little bit more elegant, shiny, formal looking. A lot of the watches are watches that can be worn in dressier situations. That's because I have to wear a tie, and I generally wear a sport coat or a vest or a sweater vest or something to work every day. Second thing is I really love color. I'm looking at my collection over here, and I have a pink dial, blue dial, bright green dial, dark green dial, blue dial, white dial, orange dial, green bezel on a white dial. So there's a lot of different color. Blue strap, bright blue strap, red strap. I really like bright colors. So you'll see that as well. The collection is very one-sided, and that's where I need y'all's help. Like, what categories am I missing? I know I'm missing a GMT. I know I'm missing like a Seiko more professional diver. I only have heritage divers. I have one SKX homage, but other than that, they're all sort of skin divers. They're 200-meter divers. I'd love to get a more professional diver with a black dial, really good loom, bigger, you know, like a Seiko something, Samurai, I don't know. Also, I have a 6.4-inch wrist. Somebody laughed at me for saying it was 6.3 in the winter and 6.4 or 5 in the summer, but it's true. It fluctuates, but it's winter right now in Michigan. It's cold, so it's about 6.4 inches. But my wrist is flatter. It's flatter than most, and so I'm able to pull off some bigger watches that maybe a 6.4 inch couldn't pull off. This is a Zodiac Super Seawolf that has like 49 millimeter lug length, but I'm somewhat, maybe I'm not, but I'm under the impression that I'm able to pull this off. So when you see these watches, you can see fairly flat wrist, call it 6.5 inches for your own purposes. It's about 6.3, 6.4, but it's fairly flat, so it might wear more like a 6.5 to 6.75, something like that. I'm gonna move. I have basically 4 categories that my dividing principle for how I go through the watch collection is going to be by use case. I've noticed in state of the collection videos, collectors do it in a variety of ways: by price, by date purchased, by wrist time, which is really cool. I think I should record how often I wear a watch. I think that would be an interesting statistic to see at the end of the year. What's been your most worn and least worn watch and everything in between. I think I would be surprised by some of them. And it would really reinforce the idea that your most expensive watch is often not your most worn watch. It's sometimes a much cheaper watch. And another dividing principle might be broad category, brand, maybe. But I'm going to do it in use case. So my 4 use cases, my 4 sort of categories that are driven by how I use the watch are going to be as follows. The first category is going to be watches that are not in the watch box. I have a 10 watch box. If the watch doesn't make it in that box, that means it's really a tier below. It's not something that it's not a watch that I wear very often. It's a watch that might be on the chopping block. I might be selling it soon. But there'll be a couple watches that I have for sentimental reasons. They were gifts, or I'm going to sell them, or my son wears one. I don't really wear it anymore. He wears it. Something like that. Then I'm going to have a section that are basically, it's another catch-all category, but it's basically tool watches or party watches, meaning watches that they're not robust enough to be an everyday watch. But they're not formal enough to be a dress watch. So I have a Studio Underdog chronograph, which is really, I call it my party watch. I just wear it in social situations that where it might be a conversation starter, but I certainly can't wear it anywhere near water. Or tool watch, beater watch, so my Vostok, a field watch, something like that. Third category, everyday watches. Big category for me. I love everyday style watches. Watches that are water resistant enough to be worn in the water, but they're not divers. Or maybe they are divers, but they're more desk divers. They have any watch that is robust enough to be worn near water. It has a sapphire crystal, but it's dressy enough to be worn in more formal situations. And for me, an everyday watch has to have the ability to be worn in more formal situations because I spend most of my day dressed more formally. And then the last category are dress watches. And I only have 3 watches that really could be, 4. They could really be considered dress watches. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Alrighty, everybody, let's get into it. So, like I said, I have about 15 watches. Been collecting for about 2 years. And I'd like to show you all my collection, but also sort of submit to you recommendations of how I could, spice things up a bit, change. What should I add to my collection next? What should I get rid of? That sort of stuff. I'd love to hear your feedback. Like I said, I'm not an expert, haven't been collecting for very long, but I sure do enjoy the collecting process. And so this first category is going to be watches that I don't wear as much anymore. They're not in my watch box. I have a nice 10 watch box in a wooden case with a glass top, and that's the watches that I reach for every day are in that box. If a watch doesn't make it in that box, then it's either because it's sentimental or it's a beater watch that I just don't wear very often, or I'm going to sell it soon, but it doesn't get a lot of wrist time. So, to kick things off, we have Skagen. Now, don't laugh. My mom gave me this watch a couple of years ago, and I wore it at my wedding. And this is, obviously before I was into watches. And she passed away a couple of years ago, so I'll never sell this watch. It's a quartz watch. It has kind of cool downturned lugs like that, very vintage. I think it is a 40 with 21 millimeter lug width. It has a day of the week and a date. And I had it repaired. I had the battery changed, and the hand right here replaced, and of course the jeweler screwed it up. So now the whole, what is this, a chapter ring, is misaligned, and he didn't put the hand back correctly. You'd think a jeweler, the type of people who get into jewelry, like fixing watches and jewelry, would be OCD types, right? Who would have an eye for detail. Well, not this guy. Anyway, so I wear it a few times a year. Next watch is another one that my mom got me. It's also a Skagen, and I only have it because my mom gave it to me. It's made out of titanium. It's very thin. Of course, it's a quartz. It has this Milanese, mesh strap that is very cool. I doubt this is titanium. This is probably just a colored, there we go, stainless steel buckle. I imagine the whole thing is stainless steel. It's the closest thing I have to Bauhaus. I really need to get my hands on a Young Hands Max Bill or a Yonkers or something like that. I can't justify buying a Nomos because if I'm going to spend $2,000 on a watch, then I've just so many things that I'd rather spend with that money. So this is sort of my German Bauhaus fix. All right, this is the first watch that I bought when I first got into watches, and of course it is, right? This is a SNK Seiko 5 37 millimeter field watch with a 7S movement, date with the 5, the 5 part came loose and it's rattling around. But the watch still runs. So, no hacking, no hand whiting, very inaccurate, no water resistance to speak of, but it was an automatic watch and it had a see-through case back, and that was cool. For somebody who's used to smartwatches, that was cool. My 4-year-old son wears this watch now, and he loves it. And it actually looks good on him. It fits him. It's kind of cool. I have it on this NATO strap from cheapestnatostraps.com, I think is the website. I'll put a link down in the description. You'll see some of their other bands. I usually buy their NATO straps, NATO style straps. Their leather straps are horrible. Frankly, do not buy them. Do not buy their leather straps, but definitely buy their NATO straps because they're fairly good. This one was, I think, $2.50, maybe less. Now, for $2.50, that's a good deal. It was on sale, but they have a lot of other straps that are $2.50, $3, $4, $5. Most of them are not more than $8 or $9. Anyway, this is the watch that got it all started for me. I really enjoy the outer minute hands, the minute markers, because it's very quick and easy to tell the time. Alrighty, moving along. So I started watching YouTube videos, and I saw Vostok being talked about as a great, cheap, yet tough watch, and that's the case with this one. This watch, this is the Vostok Kommandierski, 40 millimeters, 18 millimeter lug width. I think they advertise 50 meters of water resistance, but it does have a screw down crown. So, no hacking. It does hand wind, of course. It does have a rotating bezel. It's pretty much useless. I mean, I use it sometimes. This is the quintessential beater watch right here. I've gone surfing with this watch. I've gone body surfing in the ocean, which exposes your watch to a lot of pressure. And it held up great. You could do anything with this watch because, hey, it was $45. If it breaks, no big deal. You just buy another one. I need to get the acrylic crystal polished. I need to get some poly watch. I don't have any. But I like this watch. It has a charm to it. right? And this is a brand, Vostok is a brand with some real heritage. You know, they're basically making the same watches that they've been making for, 80 years at this point? So that's cool. I want an Amphibia. I don't know whether to get the Scooby-Doo, the reference from the Zizou reference from the Bill Murray movie. I forget the name of it. Whatever. Or something different, but cool watch. I don't wear it too often, but I do enjoy it. No way I'd sell it. A Bulova hack, or Bulova. I think it's Bulova. I don't know. This is their hack field watch. What do you call this? A reissue, inspired from a Korean War era field watch. I like this version the best. There's a black version with loomed green indices, which obviously has more of a presence in terms of loom. It has like some red accents. It looks pretty cool, but I am a sucker for light colored dials, so I like this sort of sand dial. But I don't wear this watch a whole lot because it has a Miyota 8 series movement. It's very thick. It has like 30 meters of water resistance. So this watch is basically decoration. It's not even it doesn't even fulfill the function of a field watch. It just fulfills the function of a vintage reissue, which means it's decoration. I mean, that's all it does. So I don't really enjoy this watch. I didn't buy the khaki field because I was scared that the long lugs would be too big for me. But as you'll see, there's some bigger watches that I think I'm able to pull off that I should have just bought the Hamilton, because at least the Hamilton automatic, even though it would be more expensive, at least it has some passable water resistance and it's not even this thick, and it has a much better power reserve, much better movement. This watch is wildly inaccurate, very little power reserve, unnecessarily thick. Yeah, not a big fan. I might review this watch later and compare it to some other field watches. I'd be happy to sell it. It has some scratches on it. I bought it for about $150. I think this watch retails for $350. Nobody should pay that for this watch, but it does look kind of cool. All right, the last watch that is not in the watch box. We are moving up a little bit in the world. Dan Henry is another pit stop along my early watch collecting journey. I think it is for a lot of people, where you don't know a whole lot about watches, but you know, you find Dan Henry and the watches look really good. So what if they don't have a lot of heritage to them? So what if they're quartz? They look awesome. This one was, what, $260 when I bought it? It came with a beads of rice bracelet, which is great, and a black leather strap. I've just put it on this. This is a Strap Geeks. You can find them on eBay. Strap Geeks shrunken. It's like an Epsom tanned 19 millimeter leather strap that I think is pretty cool. Pairs well with this watch, I think. This is a quartz chronograph. I featured it in my first video when I was comparing it to the Studio Underdog chronograph. Yeah, it's fine. It's got a little hair. It's actually a big hair. Let's see if we can find it. Spot the hair, guys. Where's the hair? It's somewhere in the dial, and that's annoying. That's definitely a QC issue. But I've had it for about a year, and it continues to run fine. So I enjoy it. It's very light, right? Small, it's light. Yeah, good. I think it's a good value for $260. 2 straps, watch roll, warranty. Yeah. Alrighty, so let's see. What are we gonna do next? Oh, continuing the same category. We're just now in the watch box. So we're now in watches that I wear regularly. But they're not dress and they're not every day. So I've reviewed this watch. This is a Studio Underdog Watermelon reference chronograph. It probably looks better on the black strap that it came with, but I just wanted to change it up. So this is a strap from Strap Geeks on eBay, a Horween. You can see the Horween there. Shell Cordovan brown leather strap. My lovely wife, using her skills, has fixed. I broke it. I was trying to remove it because I couldn't use a spring bar tool on a watch that I shouldn't have tried to put it on, and I had to cut the stitching, so she redid it. That's why it doesn't match. It doesn't come new like that. But anyway, this is a 38mm diver using a seagull movement. You guys, if you know anything about watches, you've probably heard of this brand, this micro brand. Watches are hard to get a hold of, but it's not a limited edition or anything. I really enjoy this watch. It's cool. I can't justify wearing it a whole bunch because you can't get it near water. It's not very legible. It's not right. You can't tell time very accurately. It is somewhat dressy, I guess, if you want it to be. So it's a cool watch. I enjoy it. The function it serves in my collection is a party watch or a conversation starter watch. So yeah, I'll put that guy over there. All right, let's see. Do I have any more tool watches? Okay, yeah, tool watches. So these are watches that don't really serve the function of everyday watches because they don't have the ability to be dressy enough or tough enough. So that one's not tough enough. This one is not dressy enough. This is an Islander. The lamp is not really doing the color justice. This is an Islander 38mm. They call it mint, but I'm going to call it watermelon again. SKX homage. So it's NH35 movement, sapphire crystal, ceramic bezel, 200 meters of water resistance, really good super lume, Luminova, green lume. The lume is one of the best. It's one of the best lumed watches that I own. It functions very much like Lumibrite. I know it can be Lumibrite because this is not a Seiko, but it looks like Lumibrite in the sense that it charges very quickly. It doesn't take a whole lot of light to charge up. It doesn't last as long as some other watches that I have, but it gets very bright. Loomed bezel insert, loomed hands, loomed indices. So it's very cool that way. Screw down crown. I have it on this navy blue strap. The camera's not really picking up the color the way I want it. Let me see. I bought this watch on sale for $200. So I think it was released at $329, might have been $299. Then it was dropped, sat at $299 for a while. Some of the references went down to like $235 on Then it went down to $199, and I snagged it. I think this is a great deal at $200. It's a very cool watch. I have the bracelet. I'll probably do a full review later. It's still for sale on Island Watch. I believe it's still in stock for about $245. So I mean, I would snatch it up at that price for sure. I'm gonna put it here because these watches kind of complement each other. All right, let's see. Last tool watch. So this is my sort of beater diver, as in if I know I need to go swimming, then I wear this watch. But I have a watch that I'm okay with beating up, then it would be this. This is a Zelos Horizons 39 with the dive bezel. These came out like 2019, I believe, and they were very popular. They sold out very quickly. You can find some new old stock on eBay for $200 or $300 over the original retail price. I managed to pick this one up for about $420 last year. I have a video review of this watch if you're interested. There's been a number of issues with the watch. It runs very fast. I think it runs like 25 seconds fast or something. Maybe that's not a lot. I mean, maybe that's acceptable. If this were like an NH35, then that I guess would be normal. The bezel is very loose. I've already had to change out the springs once. It just gets loose and then it will turn the other way. It's supposed to be a unidirectional bezel. But it is slim, it's small, and it looks cool, right? You have this fume dial pattern. The lume is very good. I have it here on a Zodiac Tropic strap. The bracelet for it is very good as well, but it sort of serves as my kickabout, knockabout dive watch. All right, let's see. So moving on to everyday watches. Everyday watches that I'm going to put in order of, I guess, the frequency that I wear them. And it's kind of a pity that this one has been moved down so much. But I just don't... There are other watches that I'm more excited about. I would imagine a year from now, this one I'll probably be wearing it more often. This is a fairer three-hand watch, the Resolute, on a oyster-style bracelet with... Oyster? I don't know. Yeah. Bracelet with the butterfly mechanism from Fairer. It's a pricey bracelet, but it's really nice. You'd be surprised how many nice watches I have where the inlinks don't fit into the watch. These do pretty well. There's a little bit of a gap there, but there's not a whole lot of jangle. Quick release pins. This is the watch I wore when my daughter was born. So it's kind of sentimental for me in that way. Has a white lacquered dial. I did review this watch on my channel. You can see that. Ooh, it needs polishing up. Sorry about that. It only has 50 meters of water resistance, which means it's barely an everyday watch for me. I like an everyday watch to have 100 or more, preferably a screw-down crown. But the case reminds one of a Rolex Explorer a little bit. Just very simple. It wears great on a NATO strap. It wears great on a leather band, on a leather strap. But I like it on this bracelet. So yeah, just a great, simple, no date. It's got a Sellita S200 in it, running about 15 seconds fast a day. Fairer, I love Fairer. I only have one watch from them, but I'd like to have more. I love their design philosophy. All right, moving up, probably just a watch that I wear a little bit more often than that one, still in the everyday category, is the Seiko Baby Alpinist. Love this watch. The only downside with this watch, well, there's a couple of downsides. Basically two downsides. One, it's chunk. It's chunky. I have it on a single pass NATO from cheapestnatostraps.com. I think they're like, I think they're called cheapestnato.com. They had to change their business name because somebody got mad at them for having the word NATO in it. So maybe it's like, I don't know. I'll just look at the link in the description. But they sell really great seatbelt style single pass bands, and they're like $7 a piece. So I have it on that. I also have the Seiko bracelet that you can put with this. I also have it on the original leather strap that I bought the watch with. But this is a great explorer style watch. 200 meters of water resistance, 70-hour power reserve. yeah, the movement is super inaccurate. It's running like, and not super inaccurate, but and it's running 18 seconds fast. And the 4R35 movement is not known for being very accurate. You know, there's a little bit of a design philosophy, different design philosophies going on in the dial. You have cathedral hands, so many different fonts. But the dial is really cool. It's, you know, it's got that textured blue dial, so it's great to look at. It has enough polishing to where you could wear it in a dressy situation if you put it on a leather strap or if you put it on the bracelet, but it's tough enough. Single domed sapphire crystal, which I kind of like the single domed effect because it adds depth. You can see the distance between the crystal and the dial, and it makes it just look a little bit more rich, in my opinion. But it has enough polishing to where you could wear it in dressy situations. So, yeah, really like this watch. It really fits my wrist well. So, I'm using an iPhone camera lens, and this is the regular lens, but it's still going to show a little bit of distortion this close up, meaning that the watch is going to look bigger on my wrist than it actually looks in real life. The farther I get away from the lens, the more accurate it will be, but it's still not going to accurately reflect how small this watch is on me. It's a perfect size. And like I said, I just love the versatility of this watch. If I put it on leather, if I put it on a bracelet, then it's then it can be formal. If I put it on a NATO, then I can swim with it. I can beat it around. I don't have to worry about any bracelet or clasp getting damaged. 200 meters water resistance, right? Overkill, definitely, but it just means that I don't have to worry about it, right? It's peace of mind. I can let it sit for 2 or 3 days in my watch box, and it's still going to be keeping time. The lume is fantastic. It only has little plops of lume. I wish the indices were lumed, but they're not. It only has little plops of lume right there, but it really glows. I'll try to let you see it. It's one of the best. It's one of the brightest watches that I have. It's showing a little bit, but it gets pretty bright. It's ice blue, Luma Bright. So I really enjoy it. This was a bit of a, not a grail, but it was a watch that I was looking at for a long period of time before I bought it, and it's I definitely have not regretted it. I only wish that they sold it with the bracelet. All right, moving on in the everyday watch category. Moving up to watches that I wear more frequently. I have 2 dress divers, 2 heritage divers. This is the Zodiac Super Seawolf Creamsicle, the nickname. So, pretty cool watch. I definitely will be doing a review of this watch, so stay tuned for that if you're interested. There's definitely some negatives to talk about, but I feel like a big reason why anyone would buy this watch is the looks. It just looks cool. You know, the design is really cool, and this is actually a pretty faithful inspiration from their late 60s, not the 53. They call it a Super Seawolf 53, but it's not based on the 53 version. It's based on a late 60s version of their dive watch that did have an orange bezel, or they had a version with an orange bezel, they had a version with a yellow bezel, they had a version that looked a lot like this one. If you watch my review, then I'll have some pictures of the vintage ones, which makes this a very faithful recreation of their back catalog. But I just love the way it looks. 200 meters water resistance, 40 millimeters, about 49 millimeters from lug to lug, but the Jubilee tapers very well. I don't remember how thick it is. It's about 13, but don't quote me on that. But I think it looks great on my wrist. I was worried that it would be too big. But I think it works okay. You know, I think it barely fits, but I mean, you can tell. I love cheerful looking watches, right? Colorful watches, cheerful looking watches, and it doesn't get more cheerful than this. White and orange. Really cool. So this is a watch that I can wear to work. I can wear it every day. I might wear it swimming, but I'm not going to beat it around because it is too much high polish for that. But secondly, mineral crystal bezel. I'm scared to death that I'm going to scratch that up. So I can't wear it. I can't bash it around the way that I might. I can't treat it like a true dive watch like I might because of that. This is one of my favorite watches. Sort of, and this is the nicest watch I own. This is the Christopher Ward C60, or is it C65? I can't remember. Aquitaine, green bezel, sand, white sand dial. This is from their Heritage collection or their Retro collection. I have it on a bracelet. I also have a brown nubuck leather strap for it. Love this watch. It's one of my favorite watches. It's just so beautiful. So I'm going to do a comparison video of these two watches because they're similar. They're both heritage divers that lean into design. This one is actually more expensive than that one, but this one has better finishing, better materials. It's just really cool. It's on the verge of being too big for me. I'll put it on my wrist in a minute, but you got 200 meters of water resistance, 41.5 millimeter diameter, 120 click unidirectional sapphire bezel, which is really cool. Look at that. It's a really cool silhouette, and the light catcher case, so you've got polishing and brushing. And you have all of these curves that reflect light that makes this watch very graceful, almost feminine. The co-founder of the company, Mike France, compared it to a Jaguar E-Type, which I think is an apt comparison. You know, it's just very graceful. Just a very basic at this price point, Sellita S200 movement. I'm hoping that Christopher Ward puts more COSC certified Sellitas or starts putting a better movement in some of their watches. I don't know. I guess at the price point that they're asking for this watch, a Sellita is not too bad. But it is a bit plain Jane. But I didn't buy this watch for the movement. I didn't buy this watch for the specs. I didn't buy this watch because it was a bargain. I bought this watch because it's gorgeous. I like the way it looks. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful watch that has the finishing of a Tudor. And probably better finishing than an Oris or a Longines. I know it has better finishing than an Oris because I've held a bunch of Orises in a jewelry store. Haven't owned any, but I've spent some time with them, and there's just the tolerances, the brushing, right, there's almost no play between the lugs. The bracelet is fantastic. It has a toolless micro adjust here that works great. The one kind of weird thing about this watch, it has 22 millimeter lug width, which I think it looks a bit odd. And they just updated their bracelet to where it tapers all the way down to like 16.5 millimeters. It's just kind of 22 to 16 is a bit much, but whatever. I mean, it's comfortable. I think it looks fine. I love wearing it on the leather strap as well. It barely fits me. You can see. Put it on wrist. I can barely get away with it with my 6.5 inch wrist. The lug to lug is like almost 47, but then the male inlinks bring it up to about 51.2. And 51.2 is getting close to overhang territory, but it is a dive watch. I feel like I can get away with a bigger watch if it's a dive watch. It's just not super dressy. It is a little bit dressy though. That's why I call it my dress diver, right? My desk diver. It's similar to this one. It's more formal than this one, better finished than this one. I love this watch, but this one, better value for money than this, for sure. All right, moving on to dress watches, and I'm gonna go with the least to the most dressy, not even the most to least worn, because I don't wear any of them too much, but they do get enough wrist time to justify keeping them. But the least dressy of what I would still consider a dress watch is this watch. Tissot PRX 35mm in blue quartz. Now, I did a video on this. I can't believe that 8,500 people watched a video that I made. Just weird. But it's the most successful video that I've released, and I reviewed this watch. I did a water resistance test. I went and swam in the lake with this watch on. It claims it has 100 meters water resistance with just a push-pull crown. At the time, I was sort of pitching this watch as a kind of Rolex Oyster Perpetual style watch. That is, it's your granddad's beater watch. It's a dressy watch that you wear in any type of situation. You wear it with a t-shirt, and it looks a little bit out of place because you just don't care. You're too cool to wear a tool watch with a t-shirt. You just have one watch, and you wear it with any outfit, and it's the quintessential Sprezzatura watch is sort of a Rolex OP. It's understated. It can handle water. It can handle, anything you throw at it, and it looks great. The problem is it's so small. Jody mentioned this in his review. The 35 is too small, and the 40 is too big. And the problem is that this watch would be more of a sports watch for me, but it's just too small. It's so small that it really has to function as a dress watch. Now, as a dress watch, it's great. The bracelet is fantastic. The bracelet is the best thing about this watch, in my opinion. It's very comfortable. It looks great. You can see that shine. Reflects a lot of light. The whole watch reflects light really well. The dial, you have full polished ring there. It does have 100 meters of water resistance. You could use it in water. Sapphire crystal, pretty flat. So you could use it in more everyday type situations. But the reason I don't wear it as an everyday watch is because of its size. It just is too dainty for me. But technically, it has more water resistance than this one. And even though this is an everyday watch. Alrighty, every watch collection needs one, right? The Orient Bambino. I won't spend a lot of time on this. You've already watched a bunch of videos on Orient Bambino. I need to get to 38 because this one's a bit big for me. This is the version 2. And I just love the combination of a cream dial like this with blue hands. I doubt that they're blued, but maybe they are, but they look great. Movement is very accurate. It's running like plus 7 seconds a day. Very accurate movement. I love the dial design. It's busy. It kind of makes the watch a little bit more casual. It's a more casual version than the version 1 or the version 3 or the version 4. But I usually just wear it in dressy situations because it only has, it has no water resistance basically. 21mm fake alligator leather strap. that I think matches the watch well. This watch also goes great with any sort of blue leather strap, like a navy leather strap or a gasoline green or something like that. Also, a light brown actually works well with this watch too. So I enjoy this watch. I don't wear it very much. And last but not least, but definitely not most, is the last dress watch. Probably the most dressy watch that I own. And it's still not even that dressy. But this is a Seiko Presage Cocktail Time. Oh, what's the green one called? Mojito. Right? Because these are based off of cocktails. So there you go. I need to review this watch. It's a really cool watch. I got it for Christmas last year. I have it on a shrunken leather Epsom tanned mocha leather strap that tapers all the way down to 14 millimeters, so it's very formal, and I really enjoy it. It's very soft, it looks great. I also have a black leather strap. If I really want to make this watch more and more, the most formal, then I'll put it on the black leather. But just the dial isn't, that's why you buy this watch, for the dial. The movement is nothing special. It's hard Lex, not sapphire. It has no water resistance. Right? It's just a very, you buy it because it's a beautiful dress watch. That's why you buy it. And don't wear it a lot, but when I do, it's definitely a conversation starter. It looks really good. Kind of, you get a little bit of a taste of Grand Seiko with those hands, alternate polish and brush on the hands. Very well done. I haven't looked at it under a loupe, but it seems like everything is in place. It seems like it's pretty well put together. You even have a framed date window, which I like, and a signed crown. So for what did I pay? $285? For $285, it's not bad for a dress watch. So there you have it. Here are all the watches laid out. You have the sort of core of my collection down here, these 4, and then everything else laid out. So looking at this collection, what should I change? What should be some goals for next year? Obviously, it's my collection. I can do what I want. But what would you do? What would be your advice? I don't have a GMT. I don't have a very tactical diver. I don't have a really formal dress watch, just like a very basic white dial or black dial dress watch on a black leather strap. I'd like to get a Young Hands Max Bill, some version of the Max Bill, probably a 38 millimeter hand wound watch. I'd love to get some sort of GMT watch. I'd love to get the Island. You know what? I've really been impressed with this Islander here. And I wouldn't mind getting the Southhold. They have like a Seafoam. I think it's a Southhold. Maybe it's a Northport. Maybe it's a Southport. I can't remember. He has a Seafoam 40 millimeter diver with the Miota 9 series that is sold out, but he said is coming back. I also really like this Zodiac. These are my 2 favorite watches, probably. These 2. Really cool. Really cool watches. Anyway, all right, hope you guys enjoyed that, and I will have some more reviews coming up. I think the next one, I'll review this watch here, just because it's been on my mind for a while. I'll probably review this one, and then these 2 are definitely up in the queue, and I'll try to pump out some more videos before Christmas, and we'll see what happens after that. All right, thanks, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you want to see some of these other watches in more detail, where I do some comparisons, we kind of shop around and see what else you could get for the money that they're asking for some of these watches, some other B-roll, bloom shots, that type of stuff, then feel free to subscribe and you can be notified when those videos go live. All right, take care. Bye.